Libra, the mental secret of Libra, the power that nobody understands. There's a version of Libra that the world knows, diplomatic, gentle, fair, the one who smiles when she should complain, the one who yields when she should resist, the one who finds the middle ground even when the middle ground hurts her. Everyone thinks they understand Libra, and Libra, most of the time, lets them believe it. Because correcting that perception would cost a difficult conversation. And difficult conversations are exactly the kind of thing the Libra mind learns very early on to avoid masterfully. But here's what almost no one realizes. This ability to avoid friction is not a disguised weakness. It's the result of a mental process that works all the time, without stopping, without rest. An invisible calculation that happens before any word, before any decision, even before Libra realizes she's calculating. And the secret, the true mental secret of Libra, is not in the result of this calculation. It's in the fact that she rarely knows she's doing it. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever noticed how before saying anything in a tense situation, something within you has already gone through the entire process? You've already imagined how the other person will react, adjusted your tone, softened the sharpest word, decided what to omit. This isn't anxiety. It's not insecurity. It's a specific, sophisticated intelligence that Libra has developed throughout its life, the intelligence to simulate consequences before acting. Think of an architect who, before laying a single brick, has already built and demolished the entire building in their mind, not because they're afraid of making mistakes, but because precision is their natural language. Libra works like that. It doesn't choose to analyze the environment. The environment simply enters it and is processed automatically, in the background, like a computer that never goes into standby mode, always running processes that the screen doesn't show. The question isn't whether this processing exists. The question is, what is it calculating, and for whom? Because over time, something very specific happens with this intelligence. It learns where it is most rewarded. Libra discovers very early on that when it uses this calculation to soften the surrounding environment, to anticipate others' discomfort, to adjust the atmosphere, to maintain harmony in the field, people feel good. And when people feel good, Libra receives something that matters a great deal to it: peace, approval, belonging. So it perfects this skill. It fine-tunes the instrument more and more. It learns to read people with a precision that is sometimes frightening, to notice what someone feels before that person can name it, to perceive tension before it becomes conflict, to find the exact word that unties the knot without creating another. Libra becomes an expert in the emotional state of others, a genuine expert. But while it fine-tunes this instrument with such dedication, something goes unnoticed, something that becomes more distant, more blurred, more difficult to access. Think of a musician who has spent their entire life learning to tune all the instruments in an orchestra. They know exactly the sound each one should have. They know every deviation, every imperfection, every slightly out-of-place note. But one day someone asks, "And your own sound? How do you sound?" And he realizes he never stopped to listen. Not because he doesn't know how, but because he was so busy with the sounds around him that his own sound became silent. This is where Libra's story begins to become more honest than it seems, and more unsettling, because there is a real cost to this pattern. A cost that Libra rarely sees because it's always looking outward. A cost that doesn't appear all at once. It appears in slices over time, in moments of exhaustion that it can't explain. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose. It speaks precisely about this, about the type of intelligence Libra possesses, this ability to process the world with precision, and about how to direct this intelligence inward instead of spending it all on others. It's not generic self-help. It's a tool for those who already feel they have something powerful within themselves, but haven't yet learned to use that power to their advantage. You probably already feel the weight of this. You've already realized that you take care of everyone, and that at the end of the day, when silence arrives, there's an unanswered question that remains. A question about you. This discomfort you're feeling now isn't weakness. It's a sign that something within you wants to change direction, and acting when that sign is active, now, not later, is the difference between recognizing a pattern and truly transforming it. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And you, when was the last time you used your own perception to your advantage and not just to take care of those around you? Tell us in the comments. Imagine someone balancing plates on sticks. You've seen this act, that circus performer who can keep 5, 6, 7 plates spinning in the air at the same time. Every time one starts to wobble, they rush to give it a new push. And the more plates they can keep in the air, the more they feel they are doing something extraordinary. There's an elegance to it, a real skill, but none of these plates are theirs. They are using all their energy, all their concentration, all their balance to keep things in the air that belong to other people. And at some point, inevitably, a plate falls. And they realize with a painful clarity that they never carried any that were theirs. That's the moment to stop, to turn the question around. How many plates are you balancing that aren't yours? And how long have you been doing this without realizing it, without questioning it? Without even imagining that it could be different. Because there's something even deeper in this pattern. Something that goes beyond tiredness, beyond the exhaustion of taking care of everyone. There's a paradox that Libra carries within themselves without being able to name it. And it starts to become apparent when you realize that all this emotional intelligence that Libra possesses, this almost supernatural clarity with which she sees others, mysteriously disappears when she tries to see herself. Libra can see with almost clinical precision what someone is feeling, what's behind a behavior, what moves a person beneath what they say. She can name emotions that the other person doesn't even know they have. She can perceive when someone is close to a breaking point before that person realizes it. But when she turns that same gaze upon herself, she finds fog. She finds confusion. She finds a question that has no immediate answer. How can someone so perceptive be so blind to themselves? It's not contradictory. It's the natural result of years of using perception in a single direction. It's like a mirror that reflects everything around it with absolute perfection, but never manages to see its own surface. The image of others, always clear. The image of herself, always blurred. And the more Libra tries to see herself clearly, the more the fog seems to increase, because the instrument she has been calibrated for the outside world. It was trained to capture the other. And when you use an instrument in only one direction for long enough, it gradually loses the ability to point in the opposite direction. That fog Libra feels when trying to see itself, that blind spot in the center of so much clarity, is exactly what the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose was written to illuminate. Not with generic answers, with real reconnection work, the kind of tool that helps Libra turn its own intelligence inward to use all that precision in service of itself for the first time. If you feel you see everyone else clearly except yourself, this book was made for you. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But there's another dimension to this pattern that goes even deeper, one that Libra rarely perceives because it disguises itself as a virtue. Libra uses silence differently from almost all other signs. For them, silence is never just absence. It's a whole language with its own grammar. A Libra's silence can be strategic agreement. It can be disagreement that they chose not to verbalize because the cost of verbalization seemed too high. It can be contained affection, managed disappointment, an unspoken need that waited for the right moment, which never came. Each pause carries a decision. Each moment they don't speak is a conscious or semi-conscious choice about what will be left out of the conversation. Imagine a letter written with total clarity, each word in its exact place, each feeling named with genuine precision, without euphemism, without protection. The letter exists. It's written. But it was carefully folded, kept in a deep drawer, and the drawer was locked with a key that they themselves kept in a place they forgot. It exists, but no one will read it. Libra has drawers full of these letters. Letters to the people she loves and never knew how to express how much. Letters to situations that hurt her and that she processed silently instead of aloud. Letters to versions of herself that were left behind unceremoniously, without farewell. And over time, these unread letters accumulate a silent and growing weight. A weight that doesn't appear in open conflict. It appears in exhaustion without apparent cause. In a vague and persistent feeling that something needs to be said, but she doesn't know where to begin, or to whom, or if it's worthwhile now. Because by guarding her own feelings with the same care she uses to protect the feelings of others, Libra has created an internal archive of unprocessed experiences. Not for lack of intelligence, for the same intelligence she used for everything else, only directed inward this time without the intention of resolving, only to preserve, only to maintain the smooth surface, the stable environment, the impression that everything is all right. And this is where the most unsettling shift occurs. This is where Libra realizes, when it realizes, that the tool it always used to protect itself has begun to function differently, in a way it didn't authorize. The intelligence that analyzed others with precision begins to analyze its own feelings with the same clinical coldness. Libra stops feeling the pain and begins to catalog it, stops experiencing the fear and begins to explain why it exists, stops processing the neediness and begins to construct rational arguments about why this neediness shouldn't exist. It's a sophisticated way of becoming estranged from oneself, of creating a distance between who you are and what you feel, a distance that seems like security but is, in fact, isolation. Think of the scales, the most obvious symbol of Libra, the one everyone has known forever. The scales exist to weigh, to compare, to find balance between two sides. But what happens when the two sides of the scales are pain on one side and the analysis of pain on the other? When Libra places its own suffering on one side and the reasoning about that suffering on the other, what happens? Suffering is never truly felt. It is measured, weighed, compared to other pains that seem greater or lesser, and then stored away in its usual place. Measured things don't heal. Felt things do. That's the difference between understanding an emotion and living it. And Libra, with all its intelligence, sometimes knows everything about what it feels, and yet remains trapped in that feeling, because understanding is not the same as experiencing it. This is the moment when Libra's most sophisticated power turns completely against it, not as punishment, as the natural result of a tool that has never been recalibrated, a scale that weighs everything except itself. That moment when the tool itself turns against you, when you realize you're analyzing what you should be feeling, is one of the deepest patterns that the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose addresses. Not as theory, as a real process of recalibration, learning to feel again instead of just measuring. to reconnect the instrument to its origin. If you've recognized this in yourself now, don't let that perception slip away. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. But here's what nobody tells you about this pattern. Here's the part that most content about Libra never gets to. The mental power that Libra possesses, this sophisticated processing, this relational intelligence, this ability to simulate consequences and read emotional fields with rare precision, is not the problem. It never was the problem. The problem isn't the tool. It's the direction it points in. And that changes everything, because everything Libra has done for others, all the attention it has given, all the precision it has applied, all the energy it has invested in maintaining balance around it, it is capable of doing for itself in exactly the same way. With the same depth it uses to understand others, it can understand itself. With the same patience it has to embrace the contradictions of others, it can embrace its own. With the same delicacy it uses to preserve what is precious in others, it can preserve what is precious in itself. What changes is something simple and at the same time difficult: the direction of the gaze. Think of a lighthouse. Built on a rock by the sea, for decades it illuminated the path of ships around it. Every night, the light turned outward, toward the horizon, towards the boats, towards the dark, bottomless water. And it did so with a perfection that no one questioned. That was what it had been built for. That was what it knew how to do. But the lighthouse never illuminated the very ground on which it stood. It never saw the subtle cracks in its base. It never saw the plants that grew among the stones, resilient and silent. It never saw the beauty of the terrain in which it was rooted. When it finally turned a part of the light inward, toward the immediate ground, towards the stone beneath its feet, it discovered something it had never seen: solid ground. A solid foundation, a base that had existed for a long time, resilient and reliable, waiting only to be recognized. Libra has this base. It has this solid ground. It has an inner foundation that has been built over years of observation, sensitivity, and genuine intelligence. It only needs to turn some of the light inward, to use all that same intelligence that was built to illuminate others in order to finally illuminate itself. It's not a one-time decision. It's a practice, a slow, deliberate recalibration that begins with simple questions. The same questions Libra asks about others, now asked of herself. What am I really feeling right now? What do I want when no one is watching? What would I give up controlling if I knew I was safe? These are questions that seem easy. For Libra, they are often the hardest to answer, because they demand exactly what she has trained for years not to do. Turning precision inward, without filtering impact, without calculating what the answer will cost the surrounding environment. They demand direct honesty with herself, an honesty she practices with others effortlessly, but which with herself always seems like new territory. And when this begins to happen, when Libra stops spending all her precision managing the world of others and begins to reserve a part of it to understand herself, to listen to herself, to choose herself, something changes. Not dramatically, not with an instant revelation or a spectacular transformation, but with the quietude of someone who finally stops carrying something she never needed to carry, with the strange and pleasant feeling of discovering that the balance she had sought throughout her life on the outside was, all along, waiting to be found on the inside. This redirection, turning intelligence inward, finding the solid ground that has always been there, is the heart of the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose. A guide that shows Libra how to use their own mental power in service of themselves, how to transform invisible calculation into real self-knowledge, and cold analysis into living clarity. If you've made it this far in this video, Something within you already recognizes this path. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. The nature of Libra has never been a flaw waiting to be corrected. It has always been a form of intelligence waiting to be fully understood by Libra itself before anyone else. The ability to feel others with real depth, to calculate the impact of words before speaking them, to maintain balance even when everything around oscillates. This is not weakness by another name. It is a kind of strength that the world rarely names as such because it seems invisible. It seems too subtle to be recognized as power, but it is power. A silent, constant, and extraordinarily rare power. Libra's mental secret is not something that needs to be eliminated or corrected or tamed. It is something that needs to be recognized for what it truly is, cared for with the same attention it has given to everything else, and little by little redirected, not away from the world, but also inward. Because when Libra learns to use for itself some of the same attention it has always given to the world around it, something silent happens. A stillness unlike anything it has ever known. The stillness of one who stops fighting against their own nature. For those who stop apologizing for being who they are. For those who finally stop explaining their sensitivity as if it were a weakness, and begin calmly and precisely to inhabit it as the home it has always been.